Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Women Like Me Stories in Business. I am your host, Julie Fairhurst, and today I'm here with somebody very interesting. And I can't wait to dive into talking to her. We've got all sorts of good questions for her, and she's written a book, which we're going to talk about as well. So I am joined today by April Day Garcia, an author, a speaker, a licensed occupational therapy assistant whose work is rooted in identity, healing, resilience, and helping people change. No, and helping people rebuild life changes. Her book, The Room to Be Brave. Now, I love that title, The Room to Be Brave. I love it. Was born from her own journey of going back to the moments that shaped her, not to rewrite the past, but to understand it with honesty and compassion. So today we're going to talk about healing, identity, courage, sobriety, resilience, and what it means to turn those rooms that shaped us into or shaped us so we can choose who we want to become next. So, April, thank you so much for being willing to be on the Women Like Me Stories in Business podcast. I'm very happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yay, good, perfect. Okay, let's start off by you telling us a little bit about who you are and the work that you're doing today.
Absolutely. So I'm April, as you said. I live in New York with my family. I'm married to my husband 17 years. We have a daughter who's 16, and she's just the light of my world. She's amazing. And I work in occupational therapy in my day job. That is at a nursing home and rehab. So I work in geriatrics, and that pays for me to do all of the projects that I like to do. So not that I don't like my work, but I have a lot of projects. So I'm currently I'm currently speaking on really my book topic, which is that identity and how our past shapes us, but we can go back into it and reshape what we took from there. So speaking on that, I'm selling the book, and I'm also starting a whole other project that launches in July, and that is an accessible travel training course, like a comprehensive course for travel advisors to learn the accessible travel market.
Interesting.
So many projects.
That's great though. Perfect. And it sounds so interesting. And I years ago when my very first job was as an activity aide in a senior's home.
Oh, did you love it?
Yeah.
They're so great, aren't
I
they?
did love it. I
They're so
did.
great. They're great. I
Yeah.
love them.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, so your message is centered around identity, healing, resilience, and the moments that shaped us. So, how did this become the heart of your book, or why?
Absolutely. So I went through, I mean, I've been on this journey 40, almost 48 years. My birthday's Saturday, so we'll say 48 years.
Oh,
Uh, and I've had a lot of ups and downs and a lot of times where I had experiences I needed to overcome, traumas. I'm not crazy about the word trauma because I feel like it's overused.
mm,
But they were traumas. And I thought for all of these years I had overcome these things. I actually wore that like a badge of honor. Like, I have overcome so many things. And in reality, I had survived a lot of things, but I had overcome nothing because I was
mm,
drinking a lot for a long time just to numb the pain from the experiences I had had. Which, on the outside, I'm very productive and I look very successful and I have a successful family. Like, my family is great. My life is great. But on the inside, I was a mess, a total mess.
oh, oh,
So I stopped drinking 2 years ago this August. August will be 2 years. And when I stopped drinking, I was also diagnosed with ADHD within 10 days of each other. So it was a wild
wow.
ride, to say the least. And when I got to that point, I realized like the reason I was doing what I was doing was to ignore and hide from all of the things I needed to actually overcome. So I started researching. I Googled trauma recovery, trauma healing, like all of the ways to try and overcome trauma. And I don't know if you've ever done that, but there are a bajillion, bajillion. I
Mhm,
was like, I'll go to a
mhm.
retreat. I'll be healed by the weekend.
Yeah.
I'll do this. I mean, there's so many different things. So I just started to really, I was journaling, I was meditating, I was going to therapy, and I started to really kind of hone in on each experience. And what I found was that when I actually sat in the experience and felt it and kind of went into the room, I was able to process what happened in a different way. Because what
Mm,
happened to me and what happens to all of us when we're seven, we're processing it as a 7-year-old, right? And then we're carrying forward whatever we believed about that situation and whatever we believed about ourselves in that situation. So that you're less than, or you should be quiet, or you should, like there's certain things we carry forward that we don't need to. So I was going back and looking at those experiences, and it was such a game changer. Such a game changer. I feel like not a different person, but just a very grounded and settled
mhm.
version of me now. So it's been
Wow.
an incredible journey.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. Wow. So, you have such a powerful phrase. The rooms we stop entering are often where the healing is waiting. So, what does that mean?
So we carry these things with us, whether we address it or we don't, right?
Right.
So, for example, I'm going to use a light story. So, this isn't a trauma, but it was an experience that shaped, and I do talk about this one a lot. It shaped how I behaved in the world. So, when I was 14, I didn't have any friends. We moved around a lot. And for most of my childhood, I was very lonely. So, I'm 14, I'm walking home from this new school, and these girls asked me to sleep over. And I was like so excited, right? Like it's finally happening. Like I'm going to be with the cool girls. So I run home. I asked my mom. She says yes. I call the girls and they start laughing. They don't want me there. They were kidding.
Oh,
So it's such a pocket of time, this moment that happened, that made me believe I don't belong in certain spaces. I'm not good enough for certain people and I'm just not cool enough. Right. So I carried that message from that day for 30 years before I went back and I was able to say, like, oh my God, let me look at that experience again and not rewrite it. It happened. That sucked. That was zero fun that day.
yes.
And it hurt. But when I looked at it as an adult, like, oh, well, that didn't even have anything to do with me. They didn't even know who I was. They didn't know anything
Yeah.
about me. That had
Yeah.
to do with mean girls being mean girls. And I let that tell me a story about myself for decades. The things that kept me from, because I was like, oh, I'm not good enough for that space. I'm not good enough to do that or to ask for that, or I'm less than, so I can tolerate this kind of behavior. So
Wow.
those things, like we're carrying them whether we address it or not. So
Yeah.
sometimes like going back into those, I think every time going back into those spaces and looking at them with a different lens can change what you carry out of it. And that can help you heal.
Yeah. In what I do with women like me, of course, they write their true life stories in the books. And it just made me think that not several, but a lot of the ladies, I mean, I've had over 350 stories, so there's a lot.
Oh my God,
So
that's amazing.
a lot of the ladies have had very serious traumas. And then other ladies have had situations very similar to yours, which they felt was a serious trauma.
Yeah. It's
It's,
funny how like the comparatively, right? Like,
yeah.
I because I wrote this book and I share probably too much in the book. And my mother-in-law was like, "Did you really have to tell that story?" I'm like,
Oh,
"I did because it's funny and it's embarrassing and it lightens the
yeah.
mood because a lot of them are
Yes.
very heavy."
Yes.
So I do have significant traumas in the book. I had meningitis when I was 22 and I lost my fingers. I almost died. I had to learn how to do
Wow.
everything again. I
Yeah.
had abuse in my childhood and neglect. And so I have all of these things,
Yeah.
but those were hard for me and those were my struggles, right? And then there are other
Right.
women, right, who have what you would think would be less significant traumas, but to
Yeah.
them it's the same level. It's the same
Yes.
level.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it affects them
Yeah.
the same way. So like they're
Hmm.
still, so that 14-year-old experience
Yeah.
could have been a trauma for somebody because it hits all of these other things. Maybe their parents kind of push them aside, or maybe, like,
Well, who knows
um,
what's going on at home?
right. So then they also have that on top of it. So piling
Hmm.
it, it may look like just one experience, but piled
Yeah.
with other things
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
it a much bigger deal. Maybe that's it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, why do you think people avoid going back to the moments that shaped them?
Oh, because those moments were terrible. I totally get it.
That was a short, easy answer. Yes.
I can
Yeah.
tell you, I didn't go back for years and years and years and years. I drank instead. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get when people, because I have people ask me that a lot where they're like, oh my God, or they tell me I could never go back. And I will tell you, it's not as bad as I thought it would be.
Hmm.
Because, first of all, I'm not 7, I'm not 14, I'm not 22, I'm a grown up, I'm an adult, I've experienced a lot of life. But also, I'm going into really like this pocket, this experience, right? And so I go and sit in this room as with a choice to go in. The first time, we typically didn't have a choice. Whatever these
Hmm.
experiences are, we were powerless. We didn't have a choice. Now I'm going in with choice and I can leave. So it's a lot safer in that way. And it holds all of this power because we give it all of this power. When you go
Mm.
back, you go, oh, okay, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I
Yeah.
think that's why people don't go back because they're like, it's going to feel exactly the way it did the first time. And it does.
Yeah, and fear.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. We give fear so much power, so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Well, what are some signs that an old experience may be influencing how we see ourselves today?
Oh, that's such a great question. So I think you notice patterns in your life, right?
Mhm.
So if you're noticing that you are treated a certain way a lot of times, like you're pushed aside, you're talked down to, and that kind of thing, these are behaviors that you're accepting, right? So if you don't accept those behaviors, people will stop doing them. The people will stop talking negative to you or not being nice or whatever.
Yes.
Though when you start to see patterns in your life that you're not okay with and you're not happy, you're like, I know this is wrong, but I don't know why it keeps happening. I think you go back and you look at, where do I think this started where I think I deserve this. So even as little, not as little, but I don't think any of this is little, but even something like asking for a raise, if you feel like it's not your place, I don't deserve that. I'm not good enough for that to ask for a raise. They're never going to give it to me anyway. Like that mindset probably
Mhm.
comes from an experience in your past where
Yeah.
somebody made you feel like that was true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I challenge people to go back, dig in a little
Mm.
bit and be like, oh,
Yes.
who made me feel like that?
Yeah.
And like journal about it, really. So you could be like, oh, you know what? My dad always made me feel silly for asking for more. Or my mom was always like, you know what? Be grateful for what you have. And, women should be in the home or whatever it is. Like we
Yes.
carry these messages from people.
Yes. Yes.
And I think you see it in the parts of your life that don't feel authentically yours, like
Yeah.
how they're supposed to.
How do you think it affects our self-worth?
Oh God, I thought from my own experience,
Hmm.
like I said, I felt successful on the outside and I felt like I was holding the show together. On the inside, I felt like crap. Honestly, like I felt like I was always making mistakes, like I was never going to be good enough. Like even for my husband and I have been together for 21 years. I know that he loves me. I know it. But for years, I was waiting for him to pack a bag and leave because my childhood was like that and I was abandoned frequently. So I believed I was the kind of person that is left, the kind of person who doesn't have any value or any worth. So
Mm.
it really affects the way we think about ourselves. That like self-talk
Yeah. Yeah.
comes from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Like think
And
about when you're little before all of these things like pile on you and you're like, dancing and it's terrible. And you're like, oh, look at me. I could be famous. And then, like, as
Yes.
an adult, you're like, I can't even dance at a wedding. No, no, no.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
somewhere that you felt judged and you stopped. So I
Mhm.
think it
Yeah.
always, like, all of it
Yeah.
builds into who you are.
Yeah. And just listening to what you were saying about, you know, just basically waiting for your husband to pack his bag and leave. I mean, that is setting up an expectation. And
Always.
yeah, a negative one that we don't want to go there.
Hmm.
So,
And
wow.
it would have devastated me, but I kind
Yeah.
of just was waiting for it.
Ah, wow.
And
Wow.
now, not at all. I don't think
Yes.
at all because
Yes.
I was able
Yes.
to go back and say, even the things where the moments where I was abandoned, my mother would take us and drop us with people for months at a time and then come
Oh,
back and be like, oh, they don't want you anymore, which wasn't true. But there were a lot of, she had
yeah.
things that she had to work through. So
Yes.
those
Yeah.
abandonment issues, I had to go back and sit with that and be like, that again had nothing to do with me. It's a child. So I had to sit with the fact that I do have value and like learn that and teach that to myself. And
Mhm.
don't get me wrong, there are still days where I'm like, I'm the worst, but it's more often than not, I'm not the worst.
Yeah. I think we need to go back and use some compassion for ourselves instead of judgment.
Oh my gosh, so much.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because the last chapter that I put into the book, not the last one in the book, but the last one I actually put in there. I was like, the book is done, it's all set. And my husband said, he goes, did you put in the story about when you fell asleep on the porch at my parents' house and my sister's birthday? I was like, no, I was drunk. That's a terrible story. Like, why would I
Yeah.
tell that story? It's
Yeah.
embarrassing. And then
Yeah.
he was like, oh, what about this one? And what about this story? And this starts listing like for me, what are shameful moments? For him, he's like, these are funny things that happened. And I got really mad. And I was like, of
Mm.
course I didn't put those in the book. These are embarrassing and whatever. So I got mad. The next
Yeah.
morning, I woke up and I was like, ah, nerds. I was like, oh, I clearly have not dealt with any of that and the
Mm.
shame that was sitting in me because of it.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
had to do the work on those
Yeah.
spaces as well. And with
Yeah.
grace and compassion, go back and see like
Yeah.
I was doing that because I was in pain and I wasn't a bad person
No.
and
No.
encapsulating those moments into rooms and saying like this is an experience and not who I am helped
Yeah.
so much. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting you say that to go back with like grace and compassion, and that was the hardest place to go.
I bet. And I just like give you credit for being able to do that.
Thank you.
For just being able to say, okay, this is a problem. I think I need to figure this out because
Yeah.
obviously I haven't dealt with something. What do you think the difference between understanding your past and letting your past define you means?
Yeah. So there are a lot of people that I think carry their past as like this like drape over them, right? Like I'm a victim,
Mhm.
I had this happen and I had this. I think that will haunt you forever then if you live in it. So the moments that I returned to, I didn't live there. I didn't go back and
Yeah.
stay and like camp out and be like, can you believe this thing happened to me? I went back in more of a power move. Like, I'm gonna
Yes.
go back and I'm gonna own that moment, whatever it was, something happened to me, something I did. I'm gonna own that moment and take forward what I want. And I think
Yeah.
that's the difference is like wearing it and making it just be part of you
Yeah.
is
Well,
I
it's
think that's the
it's
difference.
it's it's the difference between reliving it and recounting it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like you can
Yeah.
go into the abyss for a moment, but don't move, don't pack your bags, don't move in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about your book. I love the title of your book, The Room
Thank
to
you.
Be Brave. So what inspired you to write it?
So I've wanted to write it forever because like I said, I did have a lot of weird experiences and hard experiences and I'm a storyteller. I love a good story. It's my favorite. So I've always wanted to write the book, but anytime I started, I was writing. I couldn't get the words out. I couldn't get the
Mm,
story out. So my
mm,
computer is full of folders of where I started the book of my life. And it
yeah.
wasn't until I got sober and started doing the work and started healing. And my husband finally looked at me and he was like, honey, time. And I was like,
Mm,
no, no. And then I'm like, oh my God, it is. I like that was it just came out. It came out. Actually, I was talking to a friend of mine and I was like, you have to go into the room to heal from that space. And I kept saying the room, the room, the room. And I was like, oh, that's the book. It was like, I just like, oh,
yeah.
there it is.
Yeah. Do you think that you needed to read it? Or I'm sorry, that you needed to write it?
Yeah, yeah,
And
100%.
why? Why
I
did you
think
need to write it?
I think that I hope you read it because you're going to see the range of experiences that I've lived through and now overcome and survived. It's a little ridiculous. In fact, they're not even all in there because people will be like, this is not a true story. And I feel like I got through all of these things and different types of experiences to help
Mm,
because the feedback I get now, like I really did think I was just sharing my story, but now I see it so differently because the feedback I'm getting is that it's giving permission to people to go back into their rooms and heal from their own experiences.
mhm.
People send me stories there. I've never told anyone this. I haven't gone back into this room in decades. I'm so happy to
Oh,
find a way that I can. And I think that people, you won't find yourself in every room. You won't see yourself in every room in my book,
no, no.
but you will find yourself in at least one. And I
Mhm.
think it kind of makes me feel like that's why all of these things happen to me. That's, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's taking them. I mean, we all have things happen in life, and some of us just carry on, and some of
Yeah.
us we get nudged. And sometimes you get nudged and you get nudged, and then the universe hits you on the head and says,
Yep.
hello. And
Yeah.
and some take action and I think that you're an action taker, and I think
Oh,
that
yeah.
it's so important. Women's stories are so important because there's somebody, and you just proved it. There are women out there waiting to hear it.
Yeah.
We need to hear each other's stories so that it can give us the courage to be able to, and the motivation and the inspiration to be able to go
And to
and
face your
start to heal
own.
ourselves.
Yeah, 100%. It's so
Yeah.
cool. Being in a room full of women. I've been speaking at these women's events and watching their faces when I tell the story and like how to go into the rooms and what it is, and they're you can see it in their face,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
change that happened. And when I do like a book fair, or I was at a farmer's market this weekend selling the book, and I have this activity that I do with people, and I have them write on a piece of paper. It says, I was told to be. And you write the identity you were told to have. So I was told to be quiet or perfect or the peacekeeper or whatever it is that you were told to
Yeah.
be. And then you get another card and it says, I'm brave enough to be. And you get to pick your own identity. It's so
Mm.
funny. People hold this card and they're like, oh, I don't know. What was I told to be? And then when it hits, they go, oh, every one of them, they go, oh, I know. And then they write it down. And I'm like, there it is. You found it. And they're like, I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be quiet. I didn't want to be helpful. Like whatever it is, and then when you give them the who I want to be, 8 times, 9 times out of 10, myself, me.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, to see that, but until you know, you don't know that you're carrying all this stuff that's not even yours. Like
Yeah.
you didn't pick
Yes.
any of it. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. What did writing the book ask of you emotionally?
Well, it asked me to face a lot of
Mm.
my perspective of the past
Mhm.
and then my perspective of my life. So, one of the biggest things I had to face was my relationship with my mom. And oof, that was tough because I really believed I'm a better mother. I was like, I nailed it. I got it. Uh, I never hit my daughter. I never abandoned my daughter. I'm good.
Yeah.
Um, and then when I stopped drinking, I found out that I was hurting my daughter in my own way. She
Mm,
told me she was 14 when I stopped drinking, and she told me that she used to cry herself to sleep when I would get really drunk. And I realized writing the book that if I was going to go in and give myself grace and compassion for the things that I put my daughter through, I needed to do the same and extend the same grace to my mother for what she put me through,
mm,
because we were both just coming at this with what we had. I never
mhm.
think maybe I did before, but now I don't think that my mom was like actively, I want to hurt my children. I think my
No.
mom was a hurt person.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that was a huge transformation that took place during the writing of the book, because
Yeah.
I carried so much anger and pain for decades.
Yeah.
And releasing that with the book, that was something that was a
Yeah.
big, big thing I had to
Yeah.
go through
Yeah.
for the book.
And I think that because I went through that something similar like that with my mom, and I think that as we become mature, it doesn't excuse what happened by any means, at all,
Hmm.
but it helps us to understand that they are human, that
Yes.
that they who what happened to them when they were kids,
Right.
right? That whole generational thing, and now you
Hmm.
understand, you've stopped it.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I've talked to my mom about the book. So my mom's still alive. We still communicate. And
yeah.
she knows I wrote the book, and she bought it, which I was like, oh my God, like, don't read it. But I was like, thank you for
Yeah.
supporting me. But I don't think you're
Yes.
gonna love it.
Yeah.
Because God forbid my daughter writes a book about my darkest days. Like,
Yes.
no, thank you.
Yeah.
My mom understands that it's helping people, and that, that's my perspective and my story of how
Yeah.
my life was.
Yeah.
But what's amazing is we've never had conversations about her childhood and what she went through. And we've never had conversations about how I felt. And while she hasn't read the book, it has opened the door for those conversations. I get like choked up because
Yeah.
she's able to tell me about some of her rooms that she's never dealt with. And it
Mm.
really does like change the perspective of
Yeah.
not just like how you see yourself, but how you see other people. Like you see them
Yeah.
carrying rooms of trauma and rooms
Yeah.
of
And I
identities
I
that,
think and I think the difference from them to us to now your daughter is just such a big awareness shift.
yeah. Yeah, you
And
could talk about it now.
right.
Yeah.
Yes. And nothing was talked about before.
No, God,
Yeah.
no. No, no,
Yeah.
no. Like
Yeah.
even my
Yeah.
daughter telling me that she would cry herself to sleep when I was drunk. Like I I'm 47 and I just started telling my mom the things that disappointed me or upset me when I was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can't imagine being 16 years old and being like, "Mom, like this
Yeah.
hurt me." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God."
Yeah.
Um,
I,
yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it on Instagram, but I love it. I've watched it tons of times where there's four generations and the grandmother's got this rock and she hands it back to her daughter, and then she's got this rock and she's looking at it, and then she hands it back to her daughter, and then her daughter almost hands it, and then she looks at it and she puts it down.
Oh,
And
I
I
have
oh,
not
see, I got
seen that,
shivers.
but
And
I got goosebumps.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But that's, we when you know, then
Yeah.
you can stop it. But when you
Yeah.
don't know, and that's what happened with my grandmother, my great grandmother, my mother, there was no talking about anything. It was
No,
like, oh, be
absolutely.
quiet about it. I'll give you something to cry about.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yes. Oh,
yeah,
I've heard that line before.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
It's
So
so
what do you,
true.
yeah. Well, what do you hope what do you hope readers feel when they read The Room to Be Brave?
I want them to feel seen. I want people to feel like they see themselves in the book. And then I want them to feel brave enough to go back and heal their own issues, their own experiences.
Yeah, yeah. What did writing your story teach you about healing?
Oh, so I always thought like, oh, you just go to therapy and you're good, right?
Yes.
Who doesn't, right? Like, oh, therapy fixes everything. And I realized not just writing the book, but going back into my own story and figuring out how to heal is that experiences hit us on multiple levels, right?
Hmm.
Spiritual, physical, mental, emotional. They hit us in all these ways. Going to therapy is one like attack point. That's not enough. You need, I did journaling, meditation, I did Reiki, I did yoga. Acts of service is huge. I made a special place in my life, a purposeful place in my life for joy and the act of finding joy. So like you can't just take one experience and you can't take all of your experiences and heal them the same way, right? So
Yeah.
each one takes a little different dose of this and a different dose of that, but I don't think any one modality is going to help with any experience. I think you need to hit it from different points, different pressure points, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's so much help out there in books and like you say, Reiki or, whatever you might be drawn to be able to get some help. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think people need help too, because like I still believe in therapy, and I think that having a professional perspective on your story is
Yeah.
amazing. And having somebody sit in the room with you and let you say out loud the things that happened and the things that you experienced and that you're working through, huge. But then there's also like the journaling side of it. I know everyone
Mm.
hates journaling. I can't tell you how many people's journals start with like April made me do this, and it's so
Yeah.
dumb. But it's amazing because it is the somatic
Mm.
work of writing it out, but you also,
Mhm.
it's like therapy without performance.
Mhm.
You write and you're way more honest. So
Yes.
that's huge. And then meditation just helps you like be in a different space, and it also helps you calm from whatever you're processing. So it's just,
Yeah.
yeah, these
Yeah.
modalities are
Yeah.
huge, huge,
Yes.
huge.
I did a lot of I still meditate, but I belonged to a meditation circle for a number of
Mm,
years ago. And what that brought me was I learned about myself. You wouldn't
yeah.
think that you would learn to know yourself in meditation, but I learned so much about myself in meditation.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing. It
That's
is
another thing
absolutely.
people, when I'm like, oh, you meditation was huge, and they're like, oh, like,
Yeah.
listen, if my little ADHD brain that never stops can meditate, anyone can meditate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyone.
Yeah. So let me ask you about alcohol.
Ooh,
So, what changed when you chose sobriety?
everything, everything, everything,
Everything.
everything. For starters, it changed the way I see myself. So
Mm,
I carried a lot of shame constantly. I didn't really drink a lot during the weeks. Like if I had to work, I was good. But
yeah.
the weekends, it was like if I had one, I had 12. And, sometimes I was a riot. And then most of the time, I was really obnoxious.
Mm,
And so every morning that I would drink the night before, I'd wake up and just, first of all, feel awful physically. But then also it was the shame that I would carry. Like, I don't know what I did the night
mm,
before. Who did I upset? I'd look through my phone. It was to see
mm,
what I did, what I said. It was that was a huge weight. And I was so filled with shame that I would drink more just to quiet the shame and the
mm,
noise from that. So that was a
mm,
huge release to get rid of that. It changed the relationship with my husband and my daughter
mm.
because I am, when I say I'm going to do something, I do it now, right? Like they can depend on me because I'm not a disaster. So my daughter
Right.
had friends sleep over a few months ago, and normally her friends are teenagers, so I could just go downstairs. I would have had a couple of drinks while I watched TV because they're
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
She ended up needing to go to the hospital that night because she had such a bad bladder infection. And we didn't know. She doubled over in pain, and I had to take her to the emergency room at midnight. Had I been drinking, I wouldn't have been there for my daughter, right? So like
Mm,
these things, like I'm there for my family, I'm there for my friends, and I'm able to create as well. Like I couldn't have written the book, I wouldn't have this accessible travel business. Like all these things come from the clarity of sobriety.
yeah. What would you say to someone who knows they are using something to avoid feeling what needs to be felt.
Mm, yeah, it's a hard place to be because I don't think any of us are like, I'm going to drink for the next 10 years so I don't have to feel this. A lot of times you're like, I'm going to drink today so I don't have to feel this. And it's not even really an active thought. You're just like, you're uncomfortable and you're like, that makes me more
Yes,
comfortable. So,
yes.
but today, this drink, it's usually about this one drink right now. It's never about like all of the drinks, right? I think that if somebody is questioning it though, they know. Like I think if you're
Hmm.
questioning, you're aware that it's not where you should be and it's not in alignment with who you are. And I think you find a community and therapy and you get help to figure out why you're doing it and to help you stop. When I
Hmm.
stopped, I started therapy and my therapist, oh my God. Okay, I had a therapist who was like the sweetest woman and I could walk run circles around her. So I was like, everything's fine. I'm good. She's like, great. Um, what a doll, but I was running around her.
Yeah.
I found a therapist who was this man. He was a retired NYPD cop and he
Oh,
trauma counselor, the whole thing. I was like, well, crap. And
yeah.
he was in AA. He was a recovering alcoholic. So I was like, this guy's got my number, and there's nothing I could do about it. And it was great because that's what I needed in
Yes.
the beginning of my sobriety was for him every week to check me. What are you struggling with? Because it's going to lead to you drinking. And it was
Mm,
incredible. So I definitely recommend that get some help. It's
yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much better on the other
Yeah.
side. It's so much
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's important what you said is about you were running circles around the first therapist because you need to pick the right person and you don't want somebody softer than you. You want somebody a
Right.
little stronger than you.
You need to be challenged a little bit or there's no point, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I definitely, because I was in such a hard place when I was seeing her, I think at that point I wanted that. I wanted somebody that I could be like, see, I'm in
Yes.
therapy, I'm doing great.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
when I really wanted to change, I knew enough that I went for the cop. Like it was in his description. So I was like, I knew what I was getting into. And I
Yeah.
was like, here we go. Because I knew I wanted to change. So yeah,
Yes.
you've got to be a little uncomfortable
Yes, of
to
course.
change.
Yeah. Was there a moment when you realized you were ready to stop running from the hurt?
Yeah. Um, I don't know if it was like a light bulb moment, but I know there were a lot of moments over the years where I was like, I know that, like I said about it, I wasn't in alignment with who I was. The
Hmm.
alcohol, the pain, the running, it was not who I am. I'm a joyful, bright, happy person, and that whole part of my existence was dark and heavy. And the last time I drank, I was out with friends and I came home and I don't remember any of this, but I woke up the next morning. I do remember that, and I was like, "How did I get here?" I didn't even know. And my husband was not in the bed with me, and I was like, "Oh God!" And I'm looking through my phone, and I was like, "I don't even know what I did last night." And he's not happy because he's not here. And when I went to him in the other room, and he was sitting on the couch and I could still see his face. And it was the most disappointed I've ever seen him. And it wasn't like he was disappointed in me. He was disappointed that this is what his life is like. And it broke my heart. I was like, he is such an amazing guy. My daughter's so amazing. My life is so amazing. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't want this dark, heavy part of it anymore. And it was from
Yeah.
that, I told him, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done. And he was like, okay. And then when I actually, yeah, I was like, sure, girl, you're a little hungover, but show you, be drinking by Friday. No, and I never touched it again.
Wow.
I can't lose this. This is
Yeah.
everything.
Well, how can we support someone who is healing without trying to rush them?
So that I think is the biggest thing. Don't rush them. Don't rush
Mm,
them. Healing is, I don't want to say it's a painful process because it does bring you to such a light, bright place. But
yeah.
it is something, it is work. There is a work component to it. And while
Mhm.
we're trying to figure it out, I'm still figuring it out. Like, who isn't, right?
Yes. Yeah.
While we're figuring things out, like let us give us the space for that, right? So just give us the space and be there when I need to like vent something out to my husband. He's great. He listens. And then sometimes he'll try to solve it. And I'm like, no, no, no. I just need you to hear me.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
I think that when you're with your loved ones, like, you know what they need, and you know when you're being pushy, and you know when you're being like naggy, and don't like give people the space and the grace to do it. That's one thing I could
Yeah.
say that my husband, when I stopped drinking and I started to go through this process and was diagnosed with ADHD and all of that at the same time. First of all, he watched like every video on ADHD in women to understand. It, again, gets me like choked up to understand who I am and how I operate.
Yeah.
Amazing. But he also never threw it back in my face, the things I
Mm.
did. He never was like, oh, yeah, but remember you did that? Like, he never made me feel bad for the mistakes that
Hmm.
I made. He
Yeah.
met me with the same grace that I needed to meet myself with.
I think
That's
that's so
important.
wonderful because for, bringing up the situations that you felt shame around is not helping you to heal.
Right.
And it's just going
Exactly.
to keep that shame going there. And next thing you know, you're, out there doing negative behavior again.
Exactly. Because it does. You're right. It leads you to then believe again that, oh, I am this person. I do bad things. And so you
Yeah.
continue that behavior. You're
Yeah.
right. And he plays a huge, huge role in that. And I
Mm,
think we do
wow.
for our families, right? We
Yes.
we make them feel great or we make them feel terrible.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
choose the great.
Well, April, this has been just an amazing conversation. I could just carry on talking to you and go, but unfortunately, we're on a podcast, so we have to end it eventually. Where can we find out more information about you, about your book?
Yeah, so I'm at, it's very common, aprildaygarcia.com. I must be the only one because I also have at April Day Garcia on social media. So I
Oh,
got to use my
perfect.
real name, and that was very cool. So yeah,
Yes.
aprildaygarcia.com. My book is also on my website. You can get it on
Okay.
Amazon or on my website.
Perfect. Well, I just want to let everybody know that we will have links uh, to April in the show notes so that you guys can reach out to her if you're feeling like the need, you want to read that very interesting and very healing book that she
Yeah,
has written. So
thank you.
before we go, what would you say to somebody that's listening that maybe is been feeling our conversation, but they don't know what to do next. Maybe they don't have support. What would you tell them?
So it's a great question. I would tell them, Liz, start a journal, like
Mm.
start writing things out because that, first of all, is going to give you so much clarity. Read my book. I'm just kidding.
Yes.
And meet yourself with grace. Meet yourself with grace every time because
Mhm.
every one of us has made mistakes and every one of us is carrying things like either the way we treated other people or the things we tolerated for ourselves. And just give yourself the grace to say, like, that was an experience. That's not who I am.
Yes.
So that's
Yeah.
what I would say.
Oh, I love that. That was an experience, not who I am.
Yeah.
Write that down, people. Put that on your mirror, stick it on a sticky somewhere. That's it's important to remember that. Yeah, and we're not our past.
Yeah, I actually have a mirror behind my computer that says on it, "Your past does not define you, your courage does."
Oh,
And that's one of
write
my
that one
quotes.
down too, people.
One of my quotes from I don't know if it's in my book or it's just on my website and stuff, but that's one of my
Oh,
quotes. I was like, I carry that with me because
yeah.
my past doesn't define me, like my courage
No, it doesn't. No. Well, thank you
does.
so much, April. It was a it was a great conversation and so inspiring. And
Oh,
um,
thank
and thank
you.
you for, I know how hard it is to deal with stuff. And so thank you for being so honest to share those not so great moments and great moments. And it's going to help for sure. It doesn't surprise me that people are reaching out to you to tell you how much reading your book has helped them. And
Oh,
I hope that this podcast can do the same. And then they can
thank-
go in the show notes and grab the book too. Yeah,
yes,
just for
absolutely. Thank
just
you, Liz.
for some extra help.
Yes,
Yeah,
for sure,
yeah.
and reach out if you read the book. reach out and let me know. Let me know what you think. I
Yeah.
want to hear everyone's stories. I just think it's
Aw,
so nice to connect.
yeah. Perfect. Okay, everybody. Well, that is the end of this episode of Women Like Me Stories in Business. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next episode. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.